Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome everyone to the deep dive. Today we are really plunging into something fascinating. India's, well, incredible rise in the global landscape of medical value travel. We're talking about how it's become such a major destination for people all around the world seeking healthcare outside their home countries. And, when we say medical value travel or MVT, we mean something pretty specific. This deep dive, it's based on a report called India, Global Nexus for Medical Value Travel. And it defines MVT basically as getting high-quality medical care plus significant cost advantages. So it's not just like regular travel where you might happen to see a doctor. It's travel driven by needing treatment where you get, well, serious value for your money.
Exactly. And our mission here really is to dig into the analysis from this report. We want to understand how India actually got to this position and why it's pulling in such a, frankly, massive number of international patients. And honestly, the scale of it, the speed of the growth that the source material highlights, it's quite striking.
It really is. Just looking at the headline numbers from the report's introduction, they really grab your attention.
Yeah.
The market value is estimated somewhere between, $7.69 to $8.18 billion just this year, 2024. But the projections, they're kind of wild, potentially soaring to $16 billion, maybe even up to $27 billion by 2030 or 2032. That implies a compound annual growth rate of like over 16%.
Yeah, and look at the patient numbers that go alongside that. The report estimates 7.3 million medical value travelers in 2024 alone. That shows a really strong recovery after the pandemic, and it points straight to those double-digit growth rates, anywhere from 14 to maybe 20% annually. It's a huge and growing movement of people seeking care.
Now, the report does bring up something interesting about India's global ranking. You might hear it's in the top 5, but the 2020-21 Medical Tourism Index, the MTI, actually ranked it 10th out of 46 countries. That feels like quite a gap.
It does, yeah, and the report helps explain why that might be. See, the MTI considers broader factors, things like general tourism appeal, environmental stuff, that kind of thing. But India's real strength, where it really stands out and earns those sort of top-tier mentions, is specifically in the sheer volume of patients it handles, the revenue it generates, and crucially, that core value proposition. It's about delivering high quality, but at a significantly lower price point. And that's really the heart of its success story.
Right. And it's worth noting the report also mentions India's strong position in wellness tourism, too, ranked 7th globally there. That connection to the medical side, that's something unique we should definitely explore. Okay, so let's get into the why. What are the fundamental reasons patients are actually looking to India? The report calls them the foundational pillars.
Right. The first pillar, and you could argue it's the most powerful one, is just the unmatched cost effectiveness. This is often the main driver for patients. We're talking about saving, simply staggering amount of money. The report indicates savings up to 70 or 80%, sometimes it says even up to 90%, compared to the costs you'd face in, say, Western countries. And the crucial part, which the report really emphasizes, is that this isn't achieved by cutting corners on quality. That's key.
Absolutely. And you really see the impact when you look at specific procedures. The report gives some pretty vivid comparisons, like imagine needing a heart bypass. In the U.S., that could easily run you, $140,000, maybe $150,000 plus. The report says in India, you're looking at something much closer to like $5,000 to $10,000.
Which is just, a potential saving of over $130,000 on a single procedure. It's transformative for people, for families.
Completely transformative. And it's consistent across different kinds of care, too. A knee replacement, for instance. Maybe $5,000 to $8,000 in India versus $20,000, $35,000 in the U.S. And even compared to other medical travel spots like Thailand or Turkey, they're around $8K, $12K, or Singapore at about $8 and $1K. India often still has that significant cost edge.
And when you get to the really complex procedures, the difference becomes even more dramatic. A liver transplant, say, in India might cost $16,000 to $32,000. Now compare that to the U.S., where the report says it could range from $300,000 up to, a mind-boggling $870,000. Even in the UK or other hubs like Thailand and Singapore, the costs are way, way higher. So the report's key point here isn't just about offering cheap healthcare, it's about providing affordable advanced care. That's the distinction. They're doing highly complex, life-saving procedures, cutting-edge oncology, intricate transplants, advanced heart surgeries, orthopedics, stuff you'd expect in top global hospitals, but they're doing it at a cost that makes it accessible to so many more people. That's the real value in medical value travel.
Which leads us perfectly into the next pillar, doesn't it? Because you can't do complex procedures well without the right facilities and tech. Pillar 2 is world-class infrastructure and advanced technology.
Exactly. And the report details just how much India has invested here. You'll find really state-of-the-art hospitals equipped with genuinely advanced technology. We're talking things like AI helping with diagnostics, robotic surgery for incredibly precise operations, great telemedicine capabilities, sophisticated minimally invasive techniques. They even mention specific examples like advanced endoscopy systems or specialized prosthetics that really represent the latest in medical tech.
And something critical for building trust, especially with international patients, is accreditation. The report highlights that India has numerous hospitals with international accreditation, like the 55 accredited by JCI, that's the Joint Commission International. It's recognized globally as a real mark of quality and patient safety. Plus, they have nearly 1,300 hospitals accredited by India's own NABH system.
Right, and that accreditation is absolutely vital. It provides a kind of common language of quality assurance. Patients from countries with really high standards can look at that and understand and trust it. It directly tackles any maybe outdated perceptions that lower cost might somehow mean lower quality. And the fact that they're even starting to get NABH accreditation for digital health services, it shows they're really looking ahead. The report also notes specific Indian hospital groups getting international recognition, like Medanta being featured by Newsweek. That really helps solidify that quality reputation.
Okay, moving on then. Pillar 3, highly skilled medical professionals. Because none of this works without the right people actually delivering the care.
Absolutely. And India boasts this, just a vast pool of highly trained medical professionals. A lot of doctors have actually pursued qualifications, gained experience in places like the UK, Europe, the US before coming back. The report consistently describes them as, highly skilled, very detail-oriented, and having really impressive success rates, especially in complex surgical fields.
And a very practical point, which the report highlights for international patients, is the widespread English proficiency among medical staff. That minimizes language barriers, which, let's face it, can be a huge source of stress when you're seeking medical care abroad. Hospitals often specifically list multilingual support too.
Yeah, and something the report points to as a pretty major development is the WFME recognition status granted to India's National Medical Commission, the NMC. That was back in 2023. This 10-year recognition basically means that Indian medical degrees are now formally recognized, allowing graduates to pursue training and practice in countries like the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, places that required this specific standard. So this really elevates the global standing of Indian medical education. The report suggests this will just further increase confidence in the caliber of doctors coming out of India, especially since all existing colleges, plus new ones for the next decade, fall under this accreditation.
It also fuels what the report calls the return dividend, right? Skilled Indian doctors who trained or worked overseas, bringing that international experience, that understanding of different patient expectations back home.
Exactly. And you see the impact of this in some of the globally renowned Indian medical figures mentioned in the report. People like Dr. Naresh Trehan, known for just a vast number of heart surgeries, or Dr. Devi Shetty, famous for his cardiac work, both recognized with high national honors. Their expertise really reflects the depth of talent that's available.
Okay, and finally, Pillar 4, breadth of services. It's not just one or two things. India covers a huge spectrum of medical needs.
That's right. The report lists the most popular areas patients travel for: cardiology, oncology, organ transplants, liver, kidney, heart orthopedics, cosmetic and plastic surgery, dental work, neurosurgery, IVF. The list is really extensive.
And they're not just doing the straightforward procedures either. The report emphasizes their capability for highly specialized, complex treatments. We're talking tertiary, even quaternary care, plus comprehensive rehab across many different specialties.
So this positions India as a kind of comprehensive one-stop shop, really. For patients who might have multiple health issues or those needing really complex, coordinated care, being able to access everything in one place, often within the same hospital group, well, it just simplifies what could be a very complicated process.
Okay, so that covers the modern medicine side, which is clearly a massive driver. But the source material points to something else, something that adds a really unique dimension to what India offers.
Ah, yes, the integration of AYUSH. This stands for Ayurveda, Yoga and Naturopathy, Unani, Siddha, and Homeopathy. It's India's incredibly rich heritage of traditional and holistic healing systems. And this isn't just like an add-on. For many people, it's a significant part of the whole experience.
Right, and the report explains how these aren't always standalone things. They're often integrated with conventional medical treatments, offering a more, holistic approach.
Right.
So think about using Ayurvedic therapies for post-surgery recovery, or maybe yoga for stress reduction during cancer treatment, or naturopathy for managing chronic diseases alongside modern medicine.
Exactly. And the report highlights the authenticity factor here. You're experiencing these traditional therapies in their original context, delivered by practitioners who are deeply rooted in these ancient systems. It offers something really unparalleled for people interested in addressing not just the physical illness, but also, mind, body, and spirit.
And there's definitely a growing global market for this. The report notes wellness tourism is booming, estimated at nearly $20 billion this year alone. And the post-pandemic world has seen this increased interest in things like stress reduction, boosting immunity, managing chronic conditions, which AYUSH practices are really well aligned with.
Definitely. The source mentions some renowned wellness destinations within India, places like Kerala, Rishikesh, Mysuru. Now, while the NIPT accreditation does exist for wellness centers, the report does kind of point out that the number of actively accredited centers is still a bit limited, and maybe the regulatory framework in the wellness sector isn't quite as robust yet as it is for the hospitals. That seems like an area for continued focus.
So this unique blend, this integration, it attracts a wider range of visitors, doesn't it? Not just the surgical patients, but people purely seeking wellness or those looking for a combination of both. It's a key differentiator that really sets India apart. Okay, so beyond the hospitals, the doctors, the traditional therapies, the report talks about the whole surrounding ecosystem that really supports and enables this growth. What's happening behind the scenes to make all this work?
Well, government support is absolutely fundamental here. The report features the Heal in India initiative pretty prominently. It's presented as a strategic national effort. It's driven by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, working closely with the Ministry of Tourism and others, specifically to promote India as a top-tier MVT destination.
And the report details the practical steps they're taking under this initiative. Things like national promotional campaigns, a dedicated digital portal for medical travelers where you can find hospitals, get visa help, even book appointments. It highlights the accredited hospitals, provides facilitation at airports, offers language support, promotes the AYUSH facilities too, and it strategically targets specific source markets.
Yeah, and these aren't just, vague ideas. They represent tangible investments and deliberate policy decisions aimed at building this sector. The report mentions other supportive measures too, like the National Strategy and Roadmap for MVT and specific budget allocations for medical infrastructure and setting up more medical colleges. It feels like a really cohesive, government-backed push.
Another huge enabler you mentioned is visa facilitation. The report really emphasizes the e-medical visa system. It's available for over 167 countries now, and it's designed to be processed incredibly quickly, sometimes within just 48 hours. It allows a 60-day stay, triple entry. It just makes planning and traveling so much easier for patients.
Absolutely crucial. And the e-medical attendant visa allows up to 2 companions to travel with the patient, which is huge for support. Plus, they've introduced separate AYUSH visas specifically for people seeking those traditional treatments. The report notes that this liberalization, this easing of visa rules, directly boosted medical traveler numbers significantly, even before the pandemic hit. It just removes a major barrier for patients and their families.
And finally, the patient journey itself seems smoother because of what you might call the soft infrastructure.
Right. We talked about English proficiency, but the report also highlights dedicated language interpreters available in hospitals and just broader multilingual support. Plus, there's that cultural aspect of India's hospitality, the concept of Atithi Devo Bhava, which means guest is God. That really contributes to a warmer, more supportive experience for patients who are often far from home and feeling vulnerable.
The report also details the significant and apparently growing role of medical tourism facilitators. What exactly are these services doing to help patients?
Well, they act as really vital intermediaries. They basically help patients navigate the whole system. So they assist with choosing the right hospital and doctor. They handle all the complex travel logistics, visas, flights, accommodation. They provide transparent cost estimates up front, which is important. And they even coordinate post-treatment follow-up care. They provide that kind of personalized hand-holding that's just invaluable for someone seeking care in a foreign country. The report really sees them as critical to creating a more patient-centric ecosystem. They help people overcome the inherent complexities of traveling for medical treatment. And their rapid growth, one source estimated at around 20% year over year, shows just how important these services are becoming in making the whole journey smoother for international patients. It indicates a maturing market.
Okay, so India has clearly built this powerful foundation, right? with these pillars and a supportive ecosystem. But what about the challenges it faces to keep this momentum going? And where does the report suggest it's heading next?
Yeah, the report definitely identifies several hurdles that need continuous attention. Things like maintaining consistent quality and standardization across what's becoming a rapidly expanding number of facilities, that's key. Rigorous patient safety protocols are obviously paramount. Ensuring transparent pricing throughout the system is another challenge mentioned. And developing a truly robust regulatory framework, especially maybe in that wellness sector where it might not be as comprehensive as for hospitals. That's important too. And of course, just ongoing investment in infrastructure is needed to keep pace with the projected demand.
The source mentions something interesting. It calls it the paradox of scale. As patient numbers surge into the millions, making sure that every single patient gets that same high standard of care and experiences transparency across this vast, diverse network of providers,
Yeah.
well, that becomes incredibly complex. Any inconsistency, any lapse could easily erode the trust they've worked so hard to build.
That's a really good point. There's also a geographical concentration issue. The major hubs are still primarily in a few large cities: Chennai, Bengaluru, Delhi, Mumbai. The report suggests there's significant potential to develop MVT infrastructure in smaller Tier 2 cities. This could, open up new markets, offer different kinds of recovery environments, maybe provide even more cost-effective options, and crucially, spread the economic benefits more widely across the country. And you always have external factors that are unpredictable. The report notes how geopolitical events or shifts in diplomatic relations can impact patient flow from specific countries. It cites a temporary drop in visas for Bangladeshi nationals as an example in 2024. So diversifying those source markets becomes really essential for long-term stability.
Right. And looking ahead then, what does the report see for the future of MVT in India?
Well, the source really emphasizes that India needs to keep innovating. It can't just rely on the cost advantage forever, right? By 2030, they anticipate trends like even deeper integration of AYUH into medical protocols, probably expanded use of robotic surgery, maybe new delivery models like specialized surgical camps popping up, and significant growth in health tech startups creating new patient solutions. So continued investment in technology, physical infrastructure, and crucially, training the workforce is paramount.
And a key strategic goal the report highlights is moving further up the value chain, specifically by increasingly attracting patients from developed countries.
Yeah, exactly. And this means competing more directly, not just on price anymore, but really on clinical outcomes, highly specialized care, and the overall patient experience. Competing with healthcare systems in places like the US or Europe, attracting this sort of more discerning patient demographic requires just a relentless focus on clinical excellence, continuous innovation, and truly putting the patient at the very center of the entire journey.
Wow. Okay, that was a really comprehensive look, wasn't it, at how India has managed to build itself into such a significant force in medical value travel. From those truly game-changing cost savings, without sacrificing quality, to the advanced tech, the incredible pool of skilled doctors, and that unique ability to blend modern medicine with traditional wellness. It's clearly a powerful combination.
It is. We've explored those key pillars the report identified: the decisive cost effectiveness, that crucial investment in world-class infrastructure and tech, the strength of its skilled medical professionals, the sheer breadth of treatments on offer, the unique advantage of integrating the AYUSH system, and of course, the vital role of government support and those facilitators in building a really supportive ecosystem around it all.
And hopefully, listening to this, you can see why understanding this whole trend matters to you. I mean, it's about global access to high-quality, affordable healthcare options, potentially. It's about understanding a major trend that's reshaping international healthcare flows. And it's just fascinating, isn't it, to see how modern medical science is converging with ancient healing traditions in such a tangible way.
Yeah, definitely. And we also touched on the challenges. The report points to that need for ongoing standardization, better regulation perhaps, managing that paradox of scale effectively. And the strategic path forward really involves continuing that innovation and focusing on attracting a broader, perhaps more discerning international clientele.
So, based on the analysis in the report, here's maybe a final thought for you to consider. The source explicitly talks about India's strategic goal of attracting patients from developed nations for complex care, moving beyond just the cost-sensitive market. Now, given the rapid advancements we see in medical technology, the increasing global interest in holistic well-being, and India's unique integration of AYUSH, could India's medical value travel sector evolve? Could it become a primary and preferred choice for specialized treatment, even for those who could technically afford care elsewhere? Could it fundamentally change global perceptions of where the most advanced and comprehensive care can actually be found? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining this deep dive. We really hope you gained some valuable insights into this incredibly dynamic sector.